And so they've started building compounds all over the state of Texas. I'm talking about the Muslim compounds that are popping up. I've been reporting on these because it's very, very concerning because, again, you don't see them. They stay in there. Like the most well-known one is the East Plano Islamic Center. And they've got about 400 acres that they've legally purchased. So you can't seize the land back. But the reality is they build up these huge walls. I just passed one in Frisco, this Islamic Education Center. And it's got huge walls, which, again, you don't see with any Christian schools. They don't build these massive walls so you can't see what's going on in it or you can't see who's in it. But they want to live by themselves. They don't want to come out. They don't come out. They don't want to coexist with us. And we're allowing them just to buy up land all around our country.
I do want to read this story from the Post Millennial. The Trump admin to ask Congress to extend federal control of DC cops past 30-day limit. President Donald Trump stated his intention to extend the federalization of the Washington, D.C. police force, telling reporters on Wednesday that he will be asking Congress to pass a crime bill on the matter, extending it beyond the 30-day time limit. Trump said he would be seeking long-term extensions from Congress via a crime bill that would allow him to continue his efforts on cracking down on crime in the nation's capital. The bill will pertain initially to D.C., but serve as a very positive example for other areas of the country, the president said during a press briefing at the Kennedy Center. So I want to bring in Breanna here. I want to have a chat with her. We're going to discuss specifically the federalization of D.C., what this could look like, maybe if there is applications, around the country. We'll have to see. So we're going to try and grab her here. I got producer Serge in the building today. Let's see. Yeah, do you want me to I can grab it real quick. Let's see. Boom. So we're going to bring her in. We're going to have a chat. It's going to be a great time. Starting. And alrighty. Breanna, how are you doing? You're live.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, so first of all, do you want to, tell the viewers who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Breanna Morello. I am an independent journalist. I have worked at several media outlets over the years, mainstream media outlets, and I am proudly a corporate media reject. And I love that title at this point because I think the corporate media has been wrong on so much. And thankfully, those in the independent sphere have been accurate. And so, yeah, I host a show on Rumble at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. And I've been doing pretty well on my own. So I'm excited about that.
I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, we were reading this story before you came on about the federalization of the DC police force. Obviously, this has been all over the news. A lot of the mainstream outlets are, finger wagging Trump. They're saying, no, you can't do this. This is authoritarian, da-da-da-da-da. But we see story after story of people in D.C. being brutalized, being victims of violent crime. And so from a lot of Americans' perspectives, we're just happy to see that something's being done about this. What is your perspective on the federalization of the D.C. police force?
Yeah, what took so long? I mean, I feel like President Trump should have done this day one. The reality is normally I would say, yeah, the federal government shouldn't get involved, but these local governments have intentionally failed their citizens and they fail to keep them safe. And so right now we do need the federal government to step in because I was just in DC a couple of weeks ago. And the reality is I didn't go out at night because I know exactly what happens. We went out to dinner one night and as soon as I leave to get into an Uber, there's a homeless man who sadly is not well and he is defecating on the side of the street right in front of the restaurant. And it's like, is this how you want to live? And the reality is no, nobody wants to live that way. Now you mentioned the corporate media and how they're trying to push back and trying to say, oh, this is so bad. They love government. Now, all of a sudden, they don't love the government. They don't love the government getting involved. It's obviously foolishness. And the reality of it is we need a safer DC. We need safer cities all over the country because I'm from New York City. I don't go back to New York City because guess what? New York City is a cesspool. And it's because of bad politicians, not just mayors. There's states, there's city councils that are all involved in all of this. And they've intentionally failed their people. They push radical beliefs like criminal justice reform and eliminating cash bail. And now we're still struggling with the aftermath of all of that. So kudos to President Trump for getting involved and pushing our federal government to go out in these streets and make these arrests because the local officials weren't going to do it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, above all else, kind of like you hit on, I think it's just embarrassing the state of DC and New York. I mean, because when you go to New York, you go to DC, you meet a lot of foreign tourists, specifically in DC, you meet a lot of foreign dignitaries. And it kind of feels like a bit of a humiliation ritual that these local officials are imposing on the American people or there's just homeless people everywhere, like you were saying, defecate. I mean, it looks like Bourbon Street everywhere you go, and the crime's completely out of control. People are getting jumped left and right.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it feels like a bit of humiliation ritual that they're putting us through.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, when I was walking around, I mean, I literally just went in DC just to get my nails done. And just simply walking there, I interacted with, well, not willingly, interacted with two homeless people who came up to me.
Yeah.
And sadly, I mean, these are people who just need mental help. I mean, there's no other way to say it. The reality is a lot of these people, they have really just don't have, whether it's they don't have family that cares for them, or they have completely gone missing. Their family doesn't know where they are. The reality of it is it's now our job, our duty, if they're an American citizen, to step in and help these people out,
Mhm.
and not just let them sleep on the streets, because that is not humane. And Democrats constantly do that, and they say that's humane, but it's not. Over the last few years, we sat here and watched cities like San Francisco create like these self-injection sites.
Yeah.
So if you were somebody struggling with drug addiction,
Mhm.
you were going to inject yourself in a safe area, as if that's even a thing. And the city officials were paying for it with your taxpayer money. And so we sat here and had to watch that and pretend like that was acceptable behavior and acceptable for our government to take our taxpayer money and put that towards. So again, I would love to see, after Washington, D.C. is completely purged of its high crime, its homeless crisis issue, and other crises that they're dealing with, then for us to move into other cities. Because the reality of it is places like New York City. I mean, I think New York City is pretty much done, because I think Madani is going to win that one.
Mm.
And I think that's the kiss of death at that point. But other major city, and you need New York City to hit rock bottom too, by the way. I know a lot of people are hoping that that's not the case, but the reality is New York City has hit rock bottom because everyone else, every other major city, and all these other people who continue to support Democrats without knowing the policies that they're actually supporting, need to learn that lesson the hard way. And I think that's what we're going to get with Madani. But other major cities, we do need federal officials to step in and to take over. Because again, I mean, I was in Austin. I've been, discussing and covering the murder of Jamie White, the InfoWars reporter who was
Mm.
brutally murdered, and it was due to a car theft. At first, they were trying to steal his car, and then they shot him. And the reality is that's what's happening all across our country, but specifically in Austin. I mean, the police over there, it's not really their fault, because they have a really liberal prosecutor, Soros backed, Soros funded, who doesn't actually prosecute crime according to the laws and how they're written. And so he has more empathy for the suspects than the actual victims of these crimes. And so when they're catching 14, 15-year-olds stealing Kia cars and then just driving off and just crashing them intentionally, taking these joyrides and just doing whatever they want with them, we wait until they kill someone to intervene and actually put them behind bars. But even that, it's not safe. We've covered these cases I've covered these cases several times, and they'll be charged with capital murder at first, so it looks good in the headlines. But then a
Mhm.
couple of weeks down the line, a couple of months down the line, they drop the capital murder charge. And in these cases I've been following, they hit them with like aggravated robbery,
Yeah.
and they don't do any time in prison. And that's just because they're kids. And again, the prosecutors have more empathy for the suspects rather than the victims.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like in a lot of these cities, the police, when you speak to the police officers, they know exactly what to do to put an end to the insanity. It's the DAs and these bureaucrats that are installed at the heads of these police departments that basically just handcuff these police officers so they can't do their jobs. I mean, you speak to your average NYPD officer is like a total patriot when you speak to them. Like these are guys that they know exactly what to do. They know exactly how to prevent crime. They do it for a living. But I mean, they're totally restricted by the ridiculous policies that are imposed on them from above.
Yeah, it's sad too, because the NYPD was such a well-respected law enforcement agency, and then the BLM movement completely destroyed it. We're to the
Yeah.
point where most of their officers, sergeants, lieutenants, they all filed for retirement super early to get
Mhm.
out of the agency because they saw that it was going to hit rock bottom. And now what's happening right now is they have just such a low standard for their hiring practices,
Yeah.
where they're bringing on board a lot of people who wouldn't have been qualified 20 years ago to be law enforcement officers.
Mhm.
Because again, nobody wants to work in these liberal cities because it's low pay, you're treated like garbage, and the city doesn't respect you. The guy who's going to be elected mayor very soon, and again, I'm very confident he's going to be elected a mayor. Madani is someone who literally wanted to get rid of police, wanted to get rid of law enforcement. And
Mhm.
that's a complete change, because Eric Adams was once a member of the NYPD. So you're going to see a drastic shift. And again, they're not going to be able to pull in their best prospects into agencies like the NYPD. And especially, I know you mentioned it earlier in the show, ICE is giving out like $50,000
Yeah.
bonuses. So if you're someone who's a respectable member of law enforcement
Hmm.
who want to do their job and also get some type of compensation in this, you're heading to ICE next. You're not
Yeah.
going to stick around for the NYPD.
Yeah, I mean, especially with ISIS, there's like a mission involved. I mean, the NYPD, you're
Mhm.
just walking on eggshells the whole time. You're just assuming you'll get fired if you like do your job too well. You stop too much crime. Oh, sorry. But with ICE, there's like a mission involved. You're like retaking your country. There's kind of like a Reconquista kind of theme going on. If you look at their Twitter, you might make an edit. Like that'd be pretty sick. So like, it's a no-brainer. If you want, you would join ICE. It'd be awesome. One thing you're kind of hitting on with the Mamdani thing, to me, I do think this is why it's crucial that Trump does get involved here and does put his foot down and set the tone with the situation, especially around crime, is because cities like New York, they're not isolated from the rest of the United States. I always see New York as just 10 to 20 years ahead of the rest of the country, and what happens there will start trickling out into the rest, which makes sense. It's our largest city. If anything, it's just a representation of how our elite operate. I don't know. Do you get the sense that Mamdani is just kind of a glimpse into America's future if we don't do something about it?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Well, because we sat here and we watched Joe Biden's open border policies for many, many years now just destroy our country. I moved to Dallas and I was very unaware of the issues we were having here. But we've sadly imported people from countries that hate us and that
Yeah.
don't respect Western beliefs and actually want to destroy us. And
Mhm.
so they've started building compounds all over the state of Texas. I'm talking about the Muslim compounds that are popping up.
Mhm.
I've been reporting on these because it's very, very concerning because again, you don't see them. They stay in there. Like the most well-known one is the East Plano Islamic Center. And they've got about 400 acres that they've legally purchased. So you can't seize the land back. But the reality is they build up these huge walls. I just passed one in Frisco, this Islamic Education Center. And it's got huge walls, which again, you don't see with any Christian schools. They don't
Yeah.
build these massive walls so you can't see what's going on in it or you
Right.
can't see who's in it. But they want to live by themselves. They don't want to come out. They don't come out. They don't want to coexist with us. And we're allowing them just to buy up land all around our country. So
Mhm.
what you're seeing right now in New York City, for an example, Madani, they sent all of their Muslim followers in New York City a warning and kind of like an alert that Allah wants this man elected, and it's their duty now to get him elected. And when you put that out to such a loyal religious following, they're going to go out there and vote for him and make sure he gets elected. So
Mhm.
I want everyone at home to understand this. We're watching it in Minnesota. We're watching it here in Texas. It's happening in Florida too. Don't be fooled. The reality of it is this: as our country is transforming, and it's not transforming for the better.
Mhm.
Now, listen, all religion, I respect all religion, but we're dealing with people who do not want to coexist with us, who want to cause us harm. If you look over, like you saw how you said New York City, when we look at New York City, that's the future for the rest of the country. Just look to Europe, look to the UK. The story yesterday that was coming out, the UK is now baiting their female police officers
Yeah.
to run around and get catcalled. Well,
Yeah.
who's catcalling them? It's not British natives.
Right.
It's likely the Pakistanis they've imported. And then the
Mhm.
government's ignored thousands of girls and women who have come forward to say that they were sexually assaulted. So, again, that's our future if we don't stop this. And unfortunately, law enforcement in the UK is too afraid to sit there and speak out the truth on this issue because, well, they know that these people are very violent. I was watching BBC as they're covering protests. And the reality is you see a guy who's walking around with a weapon, and the BBC reporter is trying to steer the camera away so that you don't see the guy walking behind her with a weapon. This is a major issue. And
Mhm.
again, I live here in Texas. I just had an incident, and I don't know his exact religious following religion he was, but I could tell you that there was a man who appeared to be Middle Eastern who followed me into my apartment complex stairwell and he was chasing me because we have the footage now to prove it. We'll be releasing it soon, but he was trying to come after me. And
Whoa.
so again, this is something that we're seeing all across the country where women are going to have a very tough time if we keep importing people from countries that hate us.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's what you see with all these politicians, right? People are scratching their heads like, how does Elon Omar keep getting reelected? How does Rashida Tlaib? And then you look at their constituency, and it's like mostly foreign or the generation after a group of foreign-born people, and it's like, well, when you change the composition of the country, you shouldn't be surprised when those newcomers start to want to bring a little piece of home with them. And so it's like that, there's this desperation to stop Mamdani. Like, let's just everyone get behind Cuomo, everyone get behind. We're holding the line here. And from my perspective, I'm like, well, you're just kicking the can down the road an extra, 4 years. Okay, congrats, you bought yourself 4 more years. You're going to have the same exact problem where there's just going to be another, I mean, whatever you want to call them, Marxist, Muslim, whatever. All I know is it's not American, and whatever it is, hates America. And so for me, I'm like, well, we got to get to the root of the issue. And I do see Trump's ICE operation as the key, linchpin of that operation to. Basically, what I'm saying is, you get mass deportations, you won't have to worry about these Ilhan Omar's types anymore. There's not going to be a constituency for her outside of these, obscure far leftists. But yeah, and you're seeing it everywhere, like you talked about in Dallas. I mean, it was the Dallas area, was the giant monkey statue or whatever. I mean,
think, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like, what's going on? Even if these people, like, if the people coming were entirely peaceful, whatever, I don't want giant monkey statues in Dallas. Like, that sounds horrible. But like we were talking about earlier with the corporate media, they almost want you to feel bad that they're basically saying it's not valid. It's not a valid concern to be concerned about the culture of your country changing.
Yeah, and here in Dallas, for an example, I mean, it's a beautiful Christian city, and the suburbs are beautiful Christian suburbs, and that's what it's founded on. You drive around and you know that this place was founded on Christianity values. And the reality of it is we're importing people from countries that don't like us.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we could coexist. And I'm not saying that like we are a melting pot as a country. And the reality of it is yes, it's okay to coexist with others, but the people we're bringing in don't want to coexist with us. And mass deportation sound quite lovely, but a lot of these people were legally brought into our country. I can give you another great example. When Joe Biden failed with the Afghan withdrawal, we brought in hundreds of Afghan refugees without vetting them.
Yep.
And what you saw instantly on military bases were sexual assault reports coming forward. Now, I've tried to follow through with a lot of these reports to see specifically if there were prosecutions that followed afterwards, deportations that followed. And still to this day, under the Trump administration, they won't even answer those simple questions. Now, if you're wondering specifically what am I talking about, all you have to do right now, if you're at home, is just look up it was in New Mexico. There was a woman who was a service member on that military base who claimed to have been sexually assaulted by a group of Afghan men that we brought into this country. Now, I wanted to know what happened to that service member. I wanted to know if she's still serving. I wanted to know if she ever saw justice, if those men who she alleged were a part of this were ever deported. But unfortunately, no one will give me those answers. This was investigated by the FBI, and under our new leadership, which is Director Kash Patel, I've reached out several times. I've actually also submitted a FOIA request, and they won't give me any information about that case. And it's not just that. There were also children who were allegedly abused on these military bases. And then a lot of these individuals are just released into our country. So we have a massive, massive issue here. And I'm really worried that even mass deportation, and I hate to be the black pill here, but even mass deportations won't actually fix this issue. We need to admit that we don't have a lot in common with people that hate us.
Yeah.
And it's okay to sit there and say, listen, I want you to thrive, but from your country, not in our country. We should not welcome these people into our country. They hate us, and we have to accept that. Nope. The reality is there's a lot of people around the world, and they don't like us. They don't like America. They don't like for what we stand for. We've been involved in many wars that we shouldn't have been in the first place. And so we now have to deal with those ramifications. And mass deportation's great, but it doesn't really resolve all the issues, I think.
I totally agree. I mean, we've seen the Trump officials and the Trump admin have flirted with the idea of remigration, which could look like denaturalization and deportation. And to me, that's the step you're going to have to take, because we have birthright citizenship on the books. We'll see if the Supreme Court decides to address it or not. But the reality is, with birthright citizenship, you have people that can just rock up and they're born here, and there's something magical about the soil. It turns them into an American. But every single value that they hold does not align with traditional Christian American values at all. And yes, so from my perspective, I mean, I think I agree. We do need to go a step beyond mass deportations if we truly want to nip this problem in the bud.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy that we even have to have this argument. I need people in this country to wake up. I mean, I'm like, do you not see what's going on in the UK right now? Do you not see what's going on in Germany and other European countries right now, where they are literally, their women are being sacrificed to these men who they've brought in from all different places who just cannot assimilate. And that's just the reality. And it's not that we don't want these people to thrive. We want them to thrive in their countries, but again, they just don't have any goals to actually contribute and to be able to be coexisting with other people and other religions. You're watching all these protests popping up all around the country, the pro-Palestine ones. And those people hate us. I mean, they're literally burning the American flag. What more do we need to sit there and say, okay, you shouldn't be here because you are a threat. You hate this country. You hate the people of this country. And as our federal government, is your only job, your only duty to protect the American people. And when you're unable to do just that, we've got a major issue here. Even if you guys remember on New Year's Day, that he was an American Muslim man who went drove his car in New Orleans and ran over all those innocent Americans who were celebrating. He belonged to a mosque, and allegedly that mosque in Texas put out a message to all of its members saying, do not speak to the FBI if the FBI comes speaking to you. I mean, that doesn't sound like people who want to, number one, coexist with us. And number two, if they really had nothing to hide, or if they really wanted to help those who lost their loved ones during that terror attack, they would have more than willingly been willing to help us out, but they don't. And we see this time and time again. So I think it's a great thing what President Trump's doing right now. It's going to be difficult because right now, and this is why Democrats flooded our country in with millions and millions of illegal aliens. I don't even believe the current numbers.
Yeah.
If you ever traveled around the country, you go to all these different cities, you see
go to
that
Costco, you see it.
Yeah. And it's like, what's going, I think it was Cernovich who posted that he was somewhere in a rural area and he thought it was like a mom and pop shop, and he walked in and it was like owned by immigrants, and it wasn't like, and it was just completely different from what it was during the last previous owners. The reality is the United States is transforming, and it's transforming rapidly to where we don't know if this transformation is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And, defending our American values, I have no issue with that at all. And I think people need to start standing up for that issue and stop being so afraid of being called a name. I don't care what names you call me. It doesn't matter to me. I want to make sure that Americans, women, children are safe in this country. And that should be all of our top priority right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you said, the UK that's the direction we're going. I mean, granted, the UK geographically is like the size of Oregon, so they're going to feel the effects. I think that actually could be a bit of a detriment for the United States, is I think since people, the majority of people are in suburbs, we're kind of a spread out people. We don't really know what's going on in the interior, in like New York City and DC. People are kind of in the dark, but I don't think people realize how bad things are getting in these cities. And that's why I'm so thankful that Trump's bringing light to it, this crime. I mean, Los Angeles, I think, was a huge wake-up call with the Los Angeles riots, as you saw just thousands of people on the streets waving foreign flags. Presumably, the majority of these people were probably born in Los Angeles. And you're sitting there thinking, like, this is so much different from the pitch when you're growing up of what immigration looks like, where people are getting off the boat and they're kissing the ground and they're so thankful to be in America. And I mean, this did occur, versus now where people are coming and they're like, oh no, actually this was like sovereign Mexican territory because we controlled it for like 20 years or whatever. And they're waving these foreign flags. They're waving flags of like Guatemala. I'm like, what could we possibly learn from Guatemala? The place is a dump. So it's like, I think Los Angeles is a huge wake up call for Americans. And I think it's reflected in polling as well.
Yeah, and someone just told me it was Matt Walsh who tweeted that out, by the way. But I think when I was referring to the story about the restaurant that was now owned by immigrants.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to piggyback off of that. I think it's so crazy because we're allowing these people to fly foreign flags on our land. I mean, if that's not an attack, and they're attacking law enforcement, they're doing all these other violent acts. I mean, if that's not alarming enough, I don't know how much longer we have to sit here and wait. They should be labeled as domestic terrorists. These aren't protesters. These aren't peaceful protesters. These aren't people who really truly believe in our Constitution and the values that come with just that. These are people who hate us. And we need to accept the fact that these are people who passionately hate us. And so time and time again, I just sit here and watch these videos, and I have no idea why we even allow it in the first place. And then we allow all these foreigners to run for public office. Why are we doing that? Why are we allowing them to run for public office when they come from countries that have not been able to have a successful formed government? Somalia is a great example of that. They changed their state flag, and we're sitting here watching this. This is the United States. We're sitting here watching as state flags are being changed, and they're sitting here, and we have the politicians who are pleading their alliance to the country that they're not living in because it was such an awful place. They need to seek refuge here in the United States. But they'll tell us that the U.S. is evil. White men are evil. But then they will sit there and not go back to their own country. It's because they hate us.
Yeah.
And they know if they mass migrate here through our refugee programs that they could destroy us from within.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think many Americans realize that this is really, there's a timer going on. I mean,
Yeah.
I think people always assume that there's a lot more time to fix these problems than there actually is. I think people are under the impression that things aren't as bad as they actually are. Now you're finally starting to see, like Matt Walsh, where you're seeing these anecdotes where you're like, okay, you would expect to see this sort of, activity going on in LA or New York. But yeah, when you're in like Omaha, and then everyone's speaking Arabic, and you're just thinking like, okay, well, there might actually be a problem here. Yeah, I don't think people realize that we might be out of time. Like we might need some drastic action here to save things, because I mean, if this is just the beginning of, like, if Mamdani is just the beginning, which is a foreign Marxist taking over our biggest city, like we might be cooked. So I think that's a big thing that Americans need to realize, is that there's an hourglass, there's sand in that hourglass, and it is rapidly running out. I was talking to Connor Tomlinson yesterday, and he was speaking on the situation in the UK, and that's absolutely petrifying, because the Brits don't have the spirit like Americans do. Like, Americans will never feel defeated. We always have this spirit of like, there's still a chance, there's still time. I think the Brits are maybe a bit more nihilistic. But that could be a detriment for Americans. In some ways, I don't think Americans realize how bad things are getting.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, I don't think you elect Trump if you don't have any semblance of that. I think people do know that something's wrong. And the crime, I mean, the crime thing, that's another indication that people are finally getting sick of it. They're tired of not being able to walk around our cities. I mean, I was in Dallas recently, and I was really horrified because, Texas really is pitched as this promised land. And I was horrified to walk around in downtown Dallas past 8 p.m. and the situation was ridiculous. There's a lot of like zombies walking around, basically.
Isn't it great? It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. And I actually wanted to move here 10 years ago. And so I was like, I can't do it. It was when I was working in sports. I was gonna work at the NBA team down here in Dallas. And I was like, I want to move here so bad. And I loved it at the time. And then I was like, okay, now that I own my own stuff, I could just pick up and go to Dallas.
Yeah.
And I moved here, and it wasn't the same Dallas it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
It's been a rude awakening. I mean, even just going to the suburbs, they have the most beautiful suburbs, the most beautiful suburban neighborhoods that we have in the country here in Dallas. And they've all been infiltrated. And a lot of these people who are moving here are being funded by countries that hate us.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me. I was warning people. I was like, you guys, I personally got offered a trip to Qatar, an all paid inclusive vacation to Qatar, if I were to post about it on social media. And obviously, if I were to ever do that, my audience would know that I'm full of it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is what they're infiltrating, and Americans are selling us out. I don't know how else to say it. They're selling out our communities. They're selling out our people, and they're allowing these people to infiltrate through the financial means. And I know that these pieces of land that they're purchasing, they're lying to the buyers. I mean, my aunt actually owned a farm in New York, and she sold her farm and had no idea that farm was going to be then turned into a mosque. I mean, this has been going on for years, and they lie to you when you make the sale, because again, they know you won't turn them over if they tell you the truth. But you got to do a little bit more digging into this. I also sat at a lot of these. I'll give you an example. Collin County had a public hearing for the East Plano Islamic Center. And so I went and attended, and I'm sitting here watching as it's all unraveling. And I'm like, this is so strange. There's nobody of Middle Eastern background that's in this room right now. It was just a room full of white people. And why was that? Because these people, these Middle Eastern people who were looking to build up Epic, had hired white attorneys, white PR people to represent them, so that it looks like it's just fellow Americans looking to expand in our land. And again, you don't see these people because they stay inside of their facility. They're 400 acres. They very rarely come out. And, when you do see them, though, you only see the men. The videos that they post online, there's great reporting being done by Amy Meck on X, the Rare Foundation. She sits here and goes through all the footage, and she pulls things up. And you could see that they're like, oh, look how beautiful it is. We do prayer here. We do dinners here. And it's all men. It's no women. You can't find the women in any of these videos.
Go figure.
Yeah. This is not America. When you sit here and you say women can't sit there and pray with you, that women can't sit here and have dinner with you. That's not America.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real. I mean, yeah, I'm very worried. I think Trump's got some things in the works, so I guess we'll see. But thank you so much for joining me. We're running out of time here. Where can people find you to hear more?
Yes, you could find me on Rumble, The Breanna Morello Show. It's every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find me on X, Breanna Morello, and the independentnewsroom.com. We have a free newsletter you guys could join for exclusive stories sent your way.
Awesome. Well, Breanna, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to chat again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Well, that was Breanna Morello. That was great. We got into a lot of different topics there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see with the ice. The ice thing. I mean, she makes a good point. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that we got to do. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, right? That was like the Sopranos. He comes in. Well, what are you gonna do? It's so true. We got to do something. So yeah, we're cooking. There's some things operating with the beds, the bed expansion. That's a good sign. But yeah, thank you for watching. Holding it down, doing our best here. But thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter, or sorry, you can find me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. We'll be back tonight for Timcast IRL. I think it's going to be a Philcast tonight as well. And we have Terrence Williams coming on. That's going to be a lot of fun. So you want to see that. You'll want to be there. Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.